Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Street Parking Coaches Roundtable. And we haven't done one of these for a really, really long time. We have a brand new coach with us today, and we're kicking it back off. No promises whatsoever of how often this is going to happen. But because it's winter time and we have a really cool subject to talk about and a cool 30-day thing going on pretty soon, the 30 days of fitness for our members, we wanted to get together as coaches and talk about real fitness is made in the winter. It's late November now when we're recording this, so by the time you listen to it or watch it, whatever, might be a little bit deeper into the winter. It might be summertime for you when you finally find this episode. But I wrote down a little like what is real fitness is made in the winter that I want to read first before we dive into like all the tips and tricks that I know we wanted to talk about today. To give people an idea of like, what is that saying? Like, I've seen street parking, you guys have posted it several years in a row. Now we've added this like, I am cold-blooded thing on top of it. Like, what is real fitness is made in the winter? What does that mean? Most of us associate winter with cold weather, obviously. And for sure the phrase and the hashtag with street parking came from the notion that most people, especially garage gym goers, struggle when the weather is colder. Like, that's just obvious. Maybe if you go to a regular gym, it's not as hard to get going, but there's a lot of other things that are going on. We also know that fitness and nutrition habits in general tend to fall off for many people during the holidays and the colder months when we're getting less sunshine, the days are shorter, and combine that with colder weather, people seem to be less motivated. Also, it's kind of a social norm at this time of year to just say, I'm gonna start over in January. Thanksgiving is this week, as of this recording. I almost said next week. And so this is a time of year where it's completely socially normal and acceptable to just kind of like let it go. That's a snowy reference too, right? Let it go until January, and yeah, they'll just partake in all the treats at the holiday parties and in the office that people bring in. It's just that time of year. It's just what you do. That's the mentality that a lot of people take. So this episode will be about all of that for sure. And we're going to provide tips on how to combat the cold and keep moving through the busy holiday season. But for those of you that are like, you know what, I live in Australia, this doesn't apply to me, I'm going to turn this thing off right now. The tagline, real fitness is made in the winter, does not just apply to places that are cold. So even if you live in the States, but you're in a warmer state, you know, you're in Arizona or Southern California or something like that, real fitness is made in the winter has also become symbolic of any time for you that you might have the odds stacked against you or your effort to maintain habits. So a couple examples, like Brian, our accountant, it might be tax season for him. He lives in Southern California, where it's like, you know what, accountants and tax season, we just know we're going to end up eating fast food and not sleeping and not exercising because this is our winter, essentially. For teachers, it might be with school starts. For parents, it might be the summertime, actually, because they have all their kids home. And it's like, I'm so much busier when my kids aren't at school. So whatever that time is for you, and everybody has it, and if you haven't found it yet, then you're probably 19 years older. I don't know who doesn't have that. They're busy too, right? I'm out of touch. I'm old. But yeah, if the cold weather thing doesn't apply to you, we're still going to talk about some mindset stuff and some tips about how to keep yourself not motivated, but consistent when those times come up. Mm-hmm. So that's what real fitness is made in the winter means. It's not just for people that are cold, although we are going to talk about that. Mm-hmm. DH just moved here.
I did.
We did. Has it been cold?
It's been pretty cold. It's been significantly colder than what I've been used to back in California or in the Bay Area. So that's been an adjustment for us for sure.
And it's super rainy here for you too.
It is. It's got its fair amount of rain for sure.
Has it been more difficult for you to go into your garage? I mean, you still have a garage, so that's great. Has there been any challenge for you with the shorter days and the weather being colder?
Yeah, those two factors alone definitely create some friction for us to get in there and get started right away.
And it's a busy season. Like you just moved your stuff. You showed up here. Your stuff's all in boxes.
Exactly.
You're starting a new job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And still getting used to the space a little bit. And then Olivia too, because she's only 13 months. And like we have to bundle her up where before we could just let her crawl around barefoot, whatever. But we have to be a little bit more considerate of some of those factors before we get in there.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the cold stuff first, because I know we had like we told the members we were going to do this episode, and we had a lot of questions around that. Okay. And we've put out information about this on the blog and stuff, and I'm pretty sure we did a coaches roundtable last year or the year before talking about some of the same stuff. But let's just talk about the like nitty gritty, it's cold outside tips for people. First of all, clothing. Now you work out inside.
Yeah, I work out inside year round. So, but it is helpful.
Do you stay in, like, will you go for like a run or anything like that?
Yeah, sure.
But you have a rower and a bike.
Yeah, so I have,
well.
Right. Yeah. And because of like running just isn't so great for my knees. So I tend to,
you're not
bike
a big
or
runner
run
anyway.
Yeah. So,
okay. So you're out. You're out of this. It's too cold in my garage.
Yeah, I think so.
But you will have tips when we get back around to just stay inside.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like, hey, if it's a hard transition, then maybe you can just work out inside all the time. Who knows?
So I personally, when it comes to like, this is how I roll with the clothing. I will have on like leggings with sweats on top of them, my sports bra, which I will usually end up in by the end of the workout, but I'll also have a long sleeve tee and a hoodie on top and a beanie when I roll outside. And my warm-up also usually starts with slippers on. I think the number one tip is just like layer your clothes and be prepared to like, usually by the time the warm-up ends, I can do the sweatpants off, so I'm just working out in the leggings. But it seems like common sense, but layer the clothing. What have you been doing so far, because it's new for you?
Yeah, definitely sweats, shorts under the sweats, some top layer that's long sleeve. It could be just a long sleeve and like a regular t-shirt underneath, but something to just kind of keep me transitioning into the garage, not really feeling the cold, and then it makes it easier to just get going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I have heard too, again, doesn't apply to me, some people wearing gloves, like straight up, it could be like soft cushy ones or just like mechanics gloves, something that's like, if you're going to touch something cold, there's some barrier between you and that. And when I was coaching at the affiliates, like, and it was just 5 a.m., 32 degrees. I had a not super nice scarf, but just keeping my neck cold, and that's something that's easy. You can just take on and off.
Idea.
So yeah.
Now, do you work out inside because the garage is full, or it's just a personal choice? Like,
We don't have a garage.
Oh, you guys don't have a. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and and even beyond that, we had a single car garage in the house we lived in before, but Josh used it, so I wasn't working out in it, so I was already accustomed to working out inside. And when we were looking to buy the house, I knew that I didn't need a garage because I was already, so it wasn't a big deal. So I just work out in the spare bedroom.
I'm just like, I know we've done this numerous years, but I think the easiest fix when it comes to, because the obstacles that happen are just the cold, and cold equipment or your body being cold, which Miranda brought up. It almost seems to me like a little bit more of common sense, like wear layers and stuff. And as you're moving, you just keep taking off your layers. But figure out what's going to be your choice of equipment, whether it be dumbbells, kettlebell, barbell, and just put it inside. Like, that's the biggest thing. What are your hands going to be on? And I'm going to prevent this obstacle getting in my way where it's like I don't even want to touch the equipment because it's going to be so cold. So find a spot where you can put your barbell behind a couch, or just set it up right there, upright next to the door, dumbbells inside, out of the way. I think that alone makes it so that way there's not that layer of discomfort. So
sandbags are a great option.
Sandbags are a great option. You don't even need to take those
cold.
Inside. Yeah. So, but I know there's plenty of space now for people to move that stuff inside and find a place for it. So even just doing those little minor things.
Super important question, Miranda. Do you work out in the slippers, or do you change your shoes?
Sometimes I will. I mean, it depends. If I'm like gonna have to like jump, my slippers have like they're like the ones that you could wear outside if you wanted to. Like they have like the tread on the bottom, but they're not. The heel is like open, so it depends on the workout. Probably not often will I work out in the slippers, but sometimes I don't go so far as to end up putting on my shoes. I'll just stay in my socks. But you guys already that's year round.
And when it comes to layers, Julian, don't you have like a Snuggie situation?
Oh yeah, that's right.
As it gets colder, I definitely, it's not a Snuggie, it's called a Comfy.
My bad.
Snuggie
And you
is a
get,
brand.
you know,
Snuggie is a brand, though.
Snuggie is, I think it's the same brand, but then there's the Snuggie and then there's the Comfy. But yes,
I need to see this.
he snatched like
it's like a
275
blanket
in it.
poncho.
I will take.
It's like a Sherpa
Nice.
blanket poncho.
Yeah, it's great. And you know, it is one of my favorite pieces of clothing to wear as it gets colder
I put
because
it on
it's
the other
so
day for my
comfortable. You know, I know I'm not going to wear it throughout the whole workout. It's literally just for the first, 3 to 5 minutes of a workout, and then you just take it off and you're ready to go. So that really does. It's like loose and comfortable. I think that's also what helps, because for me, sometimes wearing sweaters makes me feel like I'm constricted, and I don't like that feeling at all. So more loose clothes, more warm clothes, and that will take care of the
And
problem
you've been
right
known
away.
to be like fully shirtless with your beanie still on, so that's
The
Awkward.
only reason I leave the beanie on is because sometimes
Your
if
hair?
my hair is not in good shape,
I know
it's
that
go
life.
cleaned up, then it's got to
why I
stay
have a beanie on right now.
Yeah, for sure. So
Nicole, you guys have kind of an outdoor setup more than you were used to. How has that been going for you?
I mean, we just got a shed and it is cold out there.
You have to
so-
walk out to get to the shed too.
Outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a trek. And then we just set it up this weekend to have the light, the heater, and the music electrically plugged in.
Okay.
So we just roll out there. And oh my God, here comes the camera. We roll out there real
She's got a
quick,
beanie on
and the
too.
heater, you just plug that in real quick, and because it's a small area, it heats up really fast. Put your dumbbells in front of the heater, good to go.
So let's talk about the heaters. We've had this discussion on the members pages a lot. Like what kind of heater is the best? I actually think I saw a question about this today on the Facebook group. Like what kind of heater is the best? And I've seen a lot of like tips. I know we've done a blog post about it before. I know DH, you wrote down some tips for like certain types of heaters, but Nicole, you had some tips for that as well.
For me, I think, first of all, you want to think about safety. So get one of the heaters that has like a little tipper on the back. Like if it tips over, it's going to shut off on its own.
Okay.
Make sure you unplug it. I wouldn't go with like a propane, something, anything like that because of the gas that comes off of it.
Yeah, if you're gonna keep your garage shut and you've got like all these gas fumes, it's not gonna be. You're gonna be warm
Don't do
and
that.
YOLO.
Don't do that.
Get the appropriate heater for the size of your area, and also when you're finished with it, turn it off and also unplug it, just in case. But yeah, I think generally just go with what works for your area.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Going along with the safety aspect, if it's something that's heavier, like heavy duty, probably want to get it professionally installed. Think about that too.
Like a ceiling one.
Like a ceiling one, exactly. And that's the one that's actually linked in the article. I thought it would work great for a larger space, but just make sure you're taking the precautions of keeping yourself safe.
Or if you don't get it professionally installed, just know that we told you to get it professionally installed.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is all great for people who are like already working out leading
Yes.
up to the cold.
Yes.
So what if someone's like, okay, I don't want to wait till the new year.
Right. And
What,
they want to
you know?
start.
Yeah. Because we're dealing with like the motivation or even the pressure of like, oh, it's the holidays. So
Yeah.
everyone's like accepting that this is the norm. Like you don't wait or you wait until the new year. You don't have to start now because everyone's like willing to give you that excuse.
Yeah.
And some people aren't looking for it.
Yeah, I think that these are great tips for someone who's like, I found so much consistency and I have like a good thing going, but now I can see myself struggling to keep it. But you're right. Like if someone's just starting, I would honestly say start out with the no equipment workouts and some of the workouts where you don't even have to worry about any of this because you are just doing something in your living room with no equipment at all.
Yeah, and we actually, one of the things we did for the members is we put a little snowflake on the extra programs that specifically work well indoors that don't require any equipment.
I think it's like 12 programs.
Yeah, it's a lot. It only requires a dumbbell or a kettlebell. Because we are trying to encourage people to, just get some movement in, even if it's not out cold. Like you don't have to be like cold-blooded, like out in your garage, like doing some badass stuff. Like
I think it's pretty cold-blooded to work out in your living room too,
for
though,
sure.
where you're just like, I don't care. Like I'll work out in my living room. I'm not going to like let this slow me down.
Yes.
So if this is
In
the
a
option that
different
I got to
way,
take,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think like Nicole said, again, if you're just starting, a sandbag inside is a great option because if you have like wood floors or like tile that you're worried about chipping with your dumbbells or whatever, that I think a sandbag is a great option for that too. Like it's not gonna mess up whatever if you're worried about your carpet and dumbbells on your carpet or something like that. The sandbag is just an awesome starting piece of equipment for sure. And we have 3 series of that sandbag program. And a lot of the workouts, the program A, B, or C workouts can be done with a sandbag. The dailies, shift can often be done with a sandbag. So I think that's a really great option. Or we have we have 20 no equipment workouts, which could easily get you through the holidays. And then, once you've found consistency getting into January.
You can change anything into a sandbag workout. Believe me,
sure.
I have.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Nicole gets
I think
real
I'm gonna
creative.
Use the sandbag. The other thing that I mentioned, and this one can apply to members, but it could apply to new people too, is use this time to work on something that's a weakness for you. And this is something that, again, this doesn't have to be a cold weather thing, but when life is throwing you a curveball, this is something that I've always done when I've been injured, for example. Like when I hurt my knee, I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna get really good at push-ups and really good at pull-ups right now. Or I don't wanna go outside, so I guess I'm gonna do this push-up program inside and I'm gonna get really good at push-ups during the winter. Or it could be, I've really been crappy about stretching and doing maintenance and that kind of stuff. So I'm actually just going to focus the next 6 weeks on building a better habit of that.
Yeah.
And even if I'm not getting in as many workouts, I'm establishing this habit that I've wanted to have for a really long time. So finding something that you've been neglecting maybe that can be done inside and working on that and setting a goal around something like that.
Another tip too that I feel could help a lot of individuals is maybe some of us just don't focus on intensity during the winter time, because I think sometimes that ends up getting in their head that they have to go out there, they have to hit a workout really hard, instead of just going in and letting consistency be the focus. So let's just say a workout has step-ups. Just go in there, you're in your comfy clothes, you're in your slippers.
Literally.
You just step up and, maybe don't go, make an adjustment. If you're used to using a 24-inch box, go to a 20-inch box. If you're used to using a 20-inch box, go a little bit lower.
Yeah, because the joints feel a little
so you
more stiff.
your body doesn't feel
Yeah.
awake. So
Yeah.
do things that allow you to just get your movement in. And as the workout progresses and because I always think it takes like about 3 to 5 minutes to kind of get into a flow, then start making adjustments. One, you're already warmed up, you're in it, you're in the right mindset, and then you're able to overcome those walls that get in your way. So start off very basic and then start working your way up from there. That way you could always get in there and not have to worry about it being like uncomfortable from the get-go. So treat it as, your first couple rounds are essentially a warm-up, because you're just going through the range of motion in a very low-intensive manner.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think of that just like what you said, like use it as an opportunity to work on a weakness. I think for a lot of people, a weakness is not approaching a workout with intensity.
Absolutely.
And which is a good thing. I think that's it's hard, right? It's hard. It's a skill that you have to develop, is just focusing on the consistency, even if it means a lower intensity. I appreciate that people want to tackle their workouts with intensity, because we know that gets results. But at the same time, consistency trumps even that. So if they're unwilling to lower the intensity, like you said, then they choose to do nothing, like, okay, well, that's 3 months wasted.
Well, if I'm being completely honest, there's sometimes where I'm very grateful that like the crew doesn't end up showing up to the garage, because when they show up is when naturally that I'll want to push the intensity. We always hold ourselves to like the standard of like, we're going 24-inch box, we're going 1.5 boot kettlebell.
I think it's you that does that.
Well, yeah, because but we feed off of each other. There's not much pushback. It's like, hey, we're going this. All right, and whenever they don't show up, it allows me to actually, like the other day, Saturday, I went 20-inch box. I went 45-pound kettlebells. Instead of feeling this pressure to go what the prescribed way is, or typically is in the group setting when we hold ourselves to a standard. And it was nice. It's a refresher. I toned back on intensity. And because of that, and I'm focusing on quality of movement throughout the whole workout, I still end up getting a good workout, because my body is extremely sweaty. I'm actually just as sore the next day. So there's things that I'm picking up by making those changes, and they're great. There's just a nice little reset.
Yeah, I think that tip is exactly like that. That isn't just when it's cold. Like that's a perfect, hey, during this season of when you're busy or whatever your winter is, right? Just be okay with just doing what you can do that day and just lowering the intensity a little bit and keeping the consistency. I know, Alex, you mentioned warming up. This is more of like a cold winter time tip, is warm up inside.
Yeah.
And then you start to get like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel awkward being like super sweaty, like when there's carpet around. Like that's like a weird sensation
100%,
where
it's
you're
weird.
like, I gotta get out of this carpet where the couch is. I'm like, I won't sit on the couch really sweaty. Like that's a really weird thing for me. So warm up inside, and then you're gonna want to go out where it's a little bit cooler and it's gonna be a little bit easier. Or again, going back to those workouts and we have a ton of them that you don't really need to warm up for, like the no equipment workouts. So you can just go out and, I'm just going to go out. I'm going to do it right here. I don't have to have this warm up period. So I'm going to go out in my comfy in the first round of this no equipment workout. I don't have to get anything out. My hands are not going to be on cold dumbbells. I'm just going to go start doing this burpee lunge workout. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just going to jump right into it. And we have a lot of workouts that's perfectly acceptable for.
Yeah, and that's another thing where like dropping your ego goes a long way. So like you were saying, what's stopping you? And that's where we're big on investing in workout equipment. Like let that be your investment, because you'll always end up using it. Let's just say you go out and a workout has hang power cleans with dumbbells, and you have a set of 15s, 20, 25s, and a workout has multiple rounds. Use the 15s to do the first round. Adjust, go to 20s on the second, and then maybe on the last couple rounds you choose to go to the 25s. So it may not be perfect, and you may not check that box that says you've done the workout as
We don't have
with
that
one
box.
weight,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
true.
But the thing is, this is your own journey. Make your own notes, and the goal here is just the consistency through these uncomfortable times.
I think there's a lot of value in preparing for what you actually want to do. If you've never seen a body weight workout, you're probably listening to this and you're like, well, where do I even start with that? Well, go look at them.
Yes.
Pick out 5 that you can do as a backup for something that.
Save them in your favorites.
Save them in your favorites. Mark them down. Write them down. And then you'll always have something to be able to do when maybe you feel like you're really being challenged to get a workout in.
Yeah, I have
Yes.
a few screenshots in my camera roll of
Yeah.
workouts that I can just do on the fly if I needed
sure.
to. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
let's punch on like the fact that fitness freedom again is a big deal, because I remember one of my biggest obstacles, and this doesn't even tie into winter, right? I always had the hardest time before I started training alone in the garage, thinking that I had to do a workout exactly a certain way. And when you get to a point, because I think a lot of people sometimes are naturally told what to do when they go to a class. But given that we're working at home, I guess what their teacher or that class is now the main workout that is prescribed. So this is us telling you it's okay to give yourself fitness freedom and make those changes that are going to work for you, and not feel like you're glued to it being a certain way the whole time. This is us saying go for it.
I mean, me and Caitlin this last week, because we were doing some filming for the 2023 Vault, and then there was this like really over the top workout that happened with the female trainers, and I needed to do the vault, and I was really sore. So not only did I do shift, but I took the weight out of the shift workout and did it with no weight. So like I even like simplified shift even further to get my vault in, because I'm trying to do the second half and not miss any. Like, do whatever you need to do to maintain that consistency and hit your goals that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I love when people do a workout as it's written and they crush it, but like, I get so stoked when I see people posting in the Facebook group or on Instagram and like, hey, I was gonna not do this workout and then I decided to change it to XYZ and I got it done anyway. Like, that pumps me up, because that means that they chose to do something instead of nothing, which I think is the whole point, And
they have the tools. That just shows that you are in control of your fitness. You know what to do, so it's necessary for you to get a good workout in. And standards are relative to what? To consistency. So if you want the workout to actually serve a purpose for you, then do what you want with it so that it allows you to just keep rolling with that consistency.
It's one of the main reasons that we don't have the leaderboard or the whiteboard anymore, is because we encourage people to change the workout and the versions, so that it wouldn't actually make any sense, because everybody on there did something a little bit different. So anyway, all right, I'm going to transition away from the cold weather, but before I do, I also have something that I wanted to add to this, because I do think it's important, and I do think that we should say it. Now, we live somewhere where it's cold-ish. I grew up in Utah, where it gets colder than it does here, and I know Nicole grew up somewhere where it gets really, really cold. But I do want to say, maybe not for your workout, maybe you're not running your 400s outside, but I would like to add, go outside. Like, also go outside in the wintertime.
Go play.
Yeah, go for a walk. Like, of course, like, bundle up and put the beanie on and put the little face shield on, and don't go out in the middle of a blizzard or anything like that. But, like, fresh air is important.
Yeah.
If you catch some sunlight, even if it's freezing outside, like, all of that stuff, we're not just here about, like, get your workouts in and that's it, right? Like, this is like a healthy lifestyle and habits. Like, go outside. I think people are a little bit
Too much comfort.
yeah. Get out of your comfort zone. Keep going for your walks that maybe you established during Julian versus Miranda. Like, go breathe the fresh air. When you're in round 4 of your endurance program, open the garage door a little bit and breathe some of that cold air. Like, it's good for you, depending on how cold the air is, of course. And yeah, I do want to encourage people that we're definitely not at all saying, like, be as comfortable as possible and hole up in your house until it gets warm outside again. Like, still go outside. Go play in the snow with your kids. You pushed a sled all summer long or pulled a sled all summer long? Cool. Go pull your kid in their snow sled now and push them around and play outside. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah, and after lately after my workout indoors, and by that point I'm freaking sweating and like steaming and stuff, and I'll use that. And I'm grateful that I have my dog, because that kind of forces me to do a walk. But it was like my cool down walk, and I just bring Django along, and it's like the cold air on my skin just feels amazing. Like, yeah, I think that would be a good idea too. Just
One of the things
down.
like that I've been committed to since we've lived here, is because it rains here a lot, is like, so you live in the rain. And I remember my parents came to visit recently. They were like, nobody here uses an umbrella. And it's like, no, it just rains. Like, we're not going to carry an umbrella with us 24/7. You would have to have one with you always. Like, you just get used to the fact that it
we're
rains.
cold-blooded.
We're cold-blooded over here.
PNWers.
I think one of the best workouts that I really enjoyed was when we shot that vault
the
workout
super
in the
snowy
snow.
vault.
That was so cool.
That was just great.
That was
I mean,
awesome.
if anything, there's also something developing resilience. You know, it's really important for you not to, like Miranda was saying, always stay in your comfort zone. It's good because those moments are what allow you to have the confidence in yourself to never let obstacles get in the way. So, yeah, it is raining outside. Maybe you're right, as the workout progresses, do hit a 400-meter run outside, and then there's just something cool about it. I mean, there's a reason why when you watch movies like Rocky or something, they're out there in the snow, the rain. It's like motivational, because yes, like building that kind of resilience is inspiring, and you never know. The most important thing is that it's just going to benefit you as an individual to always be able to overcome obstacles.
And I think one of the things that a lot of us love about working out at home, is that our kids see us work out. Same thing applies here. If your kids see you, oh, I don't care, we're going for a walk, it's raining, so what? As soon as you're like, oh, like, we're not going to go out because it's raining, the kids internalize that, and then they never want to go out because it's raining. So I think it's another opportunity, like Julian's saying, to just be like, and let's go. It's snowing. This is awesome. Let's go play. You know,
Flip the script.
What about nutrition? Because nutrition is hard. It's holidays. So again, whether this is like your winter, which is just your busy time of year or whatever, or it's this holiday season nutrition, I think it's easy when you're busy or during this specific time of year to just be like, you know what? I'll just worry about it when this time passes. And I'm just going to eat fast food for the next 6 weeks, you know, if you're the accountant that's busy during tax season, or I'm just going to like indulge in every single holiday thing that comes up, which for a lot of people is a lot of opportunity to indulge, or I'm just forget about it. I'm too busy. So let's talk about just like some simple tips that we have with nutrition to keep them as consistent as possible without having no balance to the point where you're like going to your family Christmas party and you won't eat any of your favorite stuff because you're too rigid about it. Because I do think there's definitely like a balance to be found. So like one perfect example is, okay, make a list of everything that's going to be an obstacle in your way. Make a list of all the parties that you see coming up. Make a list of like, I know I work at an office where all this stuff comes in. and this can apply to your fitness too, make a list of like all the things that might come up, and then see how many of those you could put something next to it that is a way that you could control that thing. So for example, like with nutrition, even if you decide you're just going to eat terribly for the next 6 weeks, you could still try to at least maintain your water habit.
For sure.
And like, okay, I'm going to keep on top of my water habit. I think for myself, and I'm like a big water drinker, I do notice I don't naturally drink as much when it's cold outside. And I think that's common for a lot of people. So I have to pay attention to it a little bit more. So it might be something where you need to have more reminders around that one. But what are some other like not protein? That was my next tip that I have in my favorite. What are some other like nutrition related tips for this time of year that you guys think people need to hear?
Well, I just think about, we host challenges or even focus groups a few times a year here at Street Parking, and our tasks or habits are like almost always the exact same. It's drink, a number of ounces of water, eat fruits and vegetables, eat a certain number of protein servings. And I feel like if I can just fall back on one or two of those and just try to stay as consistent as I can, like, okay, maybe all I focus on during these months is making sure that I get a palm-sized serving of protein maybe not even every meal, maybe at breakfast. Like how can I make this habit as approachable and accessible as possible during this time so that it's a no-brainer. It's like reducing intensity during a workout. It's like, okay, well, how can I put my ego aside and figure out a solution to this that actually is sustainable during this time, instead of trying to do too much and then being like, well, F it, I'm just not going to do any of it. So those four for sure are like the ones I always like look to as the basics.
I think one of the things that we do at our house is and Julian's more of like a snacker than I am, is we just try not to have them in our house. So even if somebody brings us something or we make something, his mom bakes a lot, or like for Christmas, I'll bake the cinnamon rolls. We'll leave it in the house for like a day, but then we gift it to someone else.
I remember you gave me a cinnamon roll last year. I remember that.
Thank you very much.
So we'll just pass it along to other people and make it their problem. That's what I'm trying to say.
I love it.
But like for us, it's like at least if we can control our home environment as much as possible. So we'll enjoy as much as we want to enjoy in our home for a day or two, and then it's like, okay, let's get it out of our home. I know that's more difficult when, partners or spouses don't necessarily agree on how long that window of enjoyment is, or how much should be kept in the home, or what should be kept in the home. But I know that's something that works for us and it works for our kids. It's really easy when the kid says, can I have a cookie? And you say, I would love to give you a cookie. We don't have any right now. You know what I mean? So it just makes it a little bit easier. And that kind of goes along with the making the decision for whatever you're going to do beforehand. And what I mean is, if you decide with each individual opportunity, if you have to make a decision every time, then you're much more likely to cave, when maybe if you had made the decision beforehand that you wouldn't have. So an example might be, I'm going to indulge at the holiday parties that I physically go to, like the neighborhood party and my family party and the work party, I'm gonna have whatever I want. But I'm not going to, under any circumstances, have treats that are brought into the office during the work week. And if you just decide that, then whatever comes in, the decision's already been made. If you're like, well, we'll see what comes in, and maybe I'll have some and maybe I won't. And I'm not saying that this is the right decision for everybody. I'm just giving you an example of if you can make decisions beforehand for what circumstances might come up, then the decision's already been made, and it makes it a little bit easier. In my opinion.
That can get really difficult in a big office. Like, what do you recommend for people who literally from Thanksgiving through Christmas, every day there's something new coming in?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to, so first of all, make sure that you're actually eating enough so that you're not like walking past that stuff starving. And again, I wouldn't recommend saying no to everything all season long, where it's like, no, I'm really looking forward. I'm pumped for the holiday party. Like, I know we're going to have treats there. I'm pumped for the family party, and I know my mom makes this, this, and this. Maybe bring a healthier snack that you maybe wouldn't have the rest of the year. Maybe have a bag of little trail mix that ultimately is going to be something that you wouldn't eat year round, but it fills that like snacky need. And yeah, you just have to be, if you work in an office where, and it's so sweet, right? I mean, I bring treats in here. We bring treats in here, and then everybody, we do it here too. It's not like we're immune to it, but if you're a person who's decided, no, these are the 3 places where I'm going to indulge, have something that's going to help you to stick to that. And then maybe let somebody else in your office who has similar habits that they're trying to maintain know, so you guys can be accountable with each other. I think would be super helpful. Be like, gosh, dang it, Nicole brought in the whatever super special muffins. And then that person can be like, oh, I know. And it's like, let's go get a coffee. And you go together really quick and get out of there, you know?
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what's important for a lot of these social gatherings is people just want to hang out. They want you there. It's not like the food that you're bringing. It's not really the cinnamon rolls only. It's like they want you to show up. Maybe.
Speak for yourself, DH.
But they want to hang out. So if you're there and just like present, I think that has a lot of value too. And then, you know, and like you're saying, enjoy those foods to the degree that lines up with your goals. If it's like, if you know that's going to be a real big temptation for you, then go in with a plan and be specific about it. Not like, oh, well, we'll see what happens, like you said. Go in with some intention and go out and then leave that event feeling like, you know, you stuck to your word. You did what you said you were going to do, and you feel good about it.
Well, I find it very interesting that I think, you know, many people have the same goals when it comes into the holidays about like making some kind of changes. That seems to be a very common theme. What I'm curious in office settings is create the change the environment around you, so that way you inspire change. So I was reading in a book one time at a hospital when this new person took over and they were in charge of like the cafeteria, as opposed to getting rid of items, you know, that obviously like the sodas, the chips, things like that, and they knew that they needed to make a change. They just rearranged and put the fruits and waters in the fronts, more in reaching distance as opposed to the other items, without having to change anything. They just rearranged things, and people naturally started to buy more of those items. So I am curious is, okay, well, people bring in the donuts, the bagels, the treats. That's typical, you know, office behavior during the holidays. Well, if you have it in your budget or talk to whoever's in charge, be like, hey, can you also bring in a platter of fruits, an assortment of fruits? Because I think lots of people just don't have those options present in front of them to make the choice. Because could you imagine, like, if that you had a plate here, an assortment of things that look like fruits and vegetables that just looked appealing and looked fresh, and then you had on this side all the sweets, I guarantee you more people are gonna want to start leaning, or even if it's just once, but the feeling that they're going to get from making that choice, knowing that that choice was ultimately the better decision, is going to lead to them to start making little changes. So I'd be curious to seeing if you make that adjustment in the work environment and see naturally if where people start gravitating towards, you know, without having to change the culture.
Yeah, because now they're in the social environment. They get to hang out without an empty plate, but they have a couple strawberries on there.
Our little cuties over there in the kitchen right now.
I brought a veggie platter not long ago here in the office.
That celery was delicious.
And like for like the first like half of the day, I like would go check and be like, oh, damn, no one's eating any.
Hidden camera behind it.
And then like I was like, let me make it easier. So I put out some like paper plates and I put a spoon in the little ranch dip. And then like with it, I mean, over a couple days, I kept putting it back in the fridge, putting it out, and like everyone, it was gone.
Absolutely.
And I, you know, and I do that sometimes if I'm invited to holiday parties. I'm often the one that brings a veggie tray. I'm often the one that brings like a veggie side or a protein.
Proud of you.
Yeah, because I'm like, this is what I would want at a party.
Absolutely.
I am going to be the person that brings it. People might not like it, but at least I know I have something that I can eat that I'm going to be happy with, you know?
I agree, because you know that other people are going to bring the other items, so it's a nice balance to have. Because it is nice to have like some kind of, you know, like carrots or different kinds of veggies that you can mix in with the other items that you're going to have naturally that people are going to bring. It feels great. What I would say, the tips that I have, especially going to the holidays, because you see this being pushed on social media a lot, and I agree with it. Nobody should be shamed for the choices that they make on Thanksgiving or any of these holidays. I look forward to the Christmas party or the Thanksgiving party we're having tomorrow, which is we're going to go watch a movie, which I know I'm going to crush some popcorn, and we're going to have pizza afterwards, right? Or is
Pizza
it
before.
Pizza before. So I know that I'm going to crush some pizza tomorrow, go to the movies, have my popcorn with my little seasoning, and I'm okay with that, because then the next meal we're going to have is Thanksgiving, but knowing that it's just us, it's going to be a good Thanksgiving dinner. And then the next holiday, Christmas, where you make those cinnamon rolls. I'm going to crush the cinnamon rolls. Where I say, and I want to add context to those posts, no, you should not be shamed, but just know that the longer you have leftovers and the longer you start creating a habit, that's when the danger arises, right? Because yes, you can have leftovers, but what happens if day 2, day 3, day 4, you're still now creating
12
that
days of
habit,
Christmas
and then you're
cinnamon
still
rolls?
grabbing
Every
those
day.
leftovers, and you're like, oh man, because it happens during Halloween and trick-or-treating. Like, I forgot to throw away the bucket of candy, and it was just at the front door, and every time I would leave, I would grab a little candy. I would come in, I'd grab a little, bite-sized candy. I was like doing that for 3 days, and I finally had to tell myself, you got to throw this away, or else you're going to continue doing this.
I would add on top of that too, like, because one of the things that I see on social media, or we just hear it from people, is that like food is part of tradition, which I actually agree with a lot. Like, we shouldn't be so worried about what we're eating on Christmas or Thanksgiving or a birthday party. Like, it's part of social gatherings. It's part of tradition. It's like the stuff that's like made with love, and all of that I agree with completely. So all the more reason not to just like, the reason that the cinnamon rolls taste so good is because we have them on Christmas, and that's it. If I made those cinnamon rolls every single weekend, it wouldn't be exciting. They wouldn't even taste as good. They wouldn't be as delicious. And so I think a lot of times what those opportunities are going to be around the holidays. And so why like almost dilute it with like random store-bought shelf, cookies and treats and stuff like that, when you know that your mom's fresh baked pumpkin pie or whatever is going to be there. Like, you almost dilute it a little bit. Like, really get excited for those things that are like your childhood memory thing and all of that, and then have 4 pieces of that pumpkin pie if you want to on that day. But I think part of what makes tradition so special is that it only does come around once a year. And so if you overdo it leading up to it, it's almost not even as exciting or special. And I think that's a different kind of maybe mentality or approach. The other thing with some of the stuff that we're talking about is you just have to kind of know yourself. So I would be the person at the office that could taste every single thing without ever eating an entire cookie, without ever. By the way, I'm not the person who leaves.
Are we sure?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm okay. Like, I could have a piece of a donut and not ever think about it again. I could have a piece of a cookie. I could do that every single, and I would never end up overindulging, but that I'm that way. I think part of it is because I try not to allow myself to get so hungry that I'm just like ravenous. Yeah. But I've also just kind of always been that way. And so know yourself as a person. If you're that person, maybe that approach works better than the like, I'm not going to eat any of it at all approach. You gotta be realistic with yourself and figure out a method that works for you.
Yeah, and I mean, Molly wrote an article recently about some tips on approaching holiday parties specifically. I think we could treat the office the same way, and we've kind of touched on it, but like getting a really good breakfast in, packing in a lunch that's balanced.
Getting the protein in with all those meals so that you have that like fullness.
Exactly.
And the veggies.
Yeah. But like holiday parties in particular, if you know you're going to one, eat a full meal before, mostly of protein and vegetables, because you know if you are planning to indulge, your carbs and fats will be taken care of for sure. But something else that was super simple was just like having mint or gum and like eating, and then because that it's that fresh minty taste that makes me feel like, okay, like I just brushed my teeth, like I'm done eating for now, you know?
Well, it's also what you're saying about the veggie tray too, like combined with what DH was saying. It's a very social thing when people are standing around at these gatherings for everyone to have a plate and to just be like munching. So if you were the person that brought the veggies, you're not like, I don't know what to do with my hands because everyone else is holding a plate. Like now I have a plate and I'm participating in this social act of we're all standing around eating and chatting.
Yeah.
And I know Molly has tips around alcohol as well, because there's a lot of opportunities where people are like drinking a lot more often during this time of year at their holiday parties and stuff. And it's like that social, like, I'm just standing here, everyone's got a drink except for me. Like, get yourself a club soda with a lime on it. And then you don't even have people asking like, what's up with you? You're not going to drink or whatever. And it's like, they just assume that it's an alcoholic drink. Also, I think it's weird that people ask that. And maybe you want to be like, yeah, I'm not drinking this. It's just water, bro. Like, you got a problem? Whatever. That's a different side. That's a different conversation. Yeah. But again, planning. Okay, yep, I'm gonna go hard at this holiday party, and I'm gonna have like, I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna eat all this stuff. But if you're noticing, it's like Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, like that stuff adds up. 6 weeks is a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's realistic to tell yourself I'm only going to indulge, or there will be opportunities for me to overindulge only in 3 days during this next like 6 week period. That's not realistic. You have to be honest with yourself and play it all the way through. Like, what is that party going to look like? How long are you going to be there? What does the next day for you look like? Are those treats still going to be in the shared office space? Like, just be realistic and give yourself a goal. I want to go out on those 3 work events that are really important to me, and I want to indulge. I want to enjoy myself, but then the next day I'm right back on track, or at least I have the tools to get myself back on track.
I think I'm going to move on to one more like thing that I think that people can do, whether it's the cold weather or just busy season or nutrition. But before that, with all this nutrition talk, the most important tip maybe is I forgot to brush my teeth on Thursday. I don't need to wait till Monday to start that again, or I don't need to wait till January 1st. So let's say you're like, okay, I had all these plans. I wasn't going to eat any of the office stuff. I wasn't going to drink at this one, specific party, but then I ate the entire cheesecake at the office. Then I went to the party and I got hammered. And then I ate an entire pizza when I got home. Like, I completely fell off the plan, and it's only the first week of December. Fine. Again, like, no shame in that. Like, just be like, okay, what just happened? And it's a new meal. It's a new day. You don't have to be like, forget it. I screwed it up. Like, I screwed up my plan. Like, all right, well, that happened. I don't need to like, well, now I can't have the cinnamon rolls on Christmas. No, you don't need to like reset the whole thing. Right. Just get back on track to what your plan was. Maybe assess why you fell off the rails so hard and figure out ways that next time those opportunities come up that you can, make better decisions or whatever. But don't feel like if you fall off or if you have something that you weren't planning on having, or, you cave on something, that you need to be hard on yourself, that you need to feel like some sort of failure, or that you need to be like, forget it, it's ruined, I'm just going to wait till January.
Yeah, 2023 is going to be my year.
For sure.
Classic.
It's just this year. Forget it. It's over. But yeah, I think that's important to remember. It's like, if you didn't brush your teeth on a Thursday, you're like, well, I passed out. I forgot to brush my teeth today. You don't wait until Monday or 2023. You're just like, all right, well, I guess I better double brush today, but I don't know. The last thing that I was going to mention is staying plugged in with the community and staying plugged in with your like other people who are aligned with you in their goal lifestyle or their lifestyle habits, I think can be important. The fact that you're listening to or watching this is huge. So I think one of the things that you can do is go back through and listen to some of the street parking podcasts when you're driving or when you're, doing your warm up inside or whatever, because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm like listening to books or, listen to like Atomic Habits during this time of year, I'm more conscious. I'm like, okay, like I'm being reminded of why this is important and how this is good for me. And I'm more motivated because I'm hearing other people who are motivated around it. So just like plugging in some of the street parking messaging during this time, I think can be really helpful. But also staying plugged into the street parking community on Facebook and Instagram, if that's your thing, like reaching out to members, sharing your success, sharing your like, I ate the whole pie, pizza, and then I blacked out after drinking too much story. can you guys help motivate me to get back? Like, there will be people that will help support you through that stuff. So staying plugged into the community.
Just a quick note. Sometimes I don't even think it's the overindulgence of like solid foods that has people's issues during the holidays. I think it's the liquid consumption.
Like their
They
pumpkin spice
really
lattes.
pushes them over the edge. I mean, like, you want to talk about ways to get over the top calories, and it's the amount of drinks, the amount of sugar that goes in your drinks, the the peppermint, all this
Eggnog
whatever.
latte?
That's what having awareness. That's where you should
So
focus
good,
your
yeah.
awareness, because at some point, like when you have too much food, your body's naturally going to tell you like, I'm going to throw up if you have another bite. Like, go for it, buddy. Like, but then if you're like, oh, I'm full, I'm going to start drinking something. I mean, you're just going to keep drinking away. And that's where it's like, okay, now you're overdoing it. You're putting your system on overdrive, and you just got to be really cautious when it comes to that. So grab that extra drink of water. Okay. Make sure, or sometimes, some things that will help is a coffee with just, that's what for us, you'll see us drinking, coffee with like a scoop of Bubs, healthy fats, because naturally it's going to tell your body that you're okay, and you're not going to feel the need to go out and get like carbohydrates in you. So just small little notes there that will help you get through those little rough times. So
I think drinking like some warm like teas and stuff like that too, because I know when I'm cold, I'm much more likely to want to eat. Like I'm sure there's some science behind that I can't explain right now. But so like warm teas and having stuff like that with me, it can be really helpful. That might also be just a tip to have like at some of these parties and stuff, like sipping on a warm tea or a warm coffee.
I'll put Bubs in teas as well. It's really good. So.
And these are good suggestions, and I think what makes it even more accessible and powerful, really, to help you build consistency and to stay healthy throughout the holidays, is you have to make it convenient. I think that's the whole thing. Is sometimes we're reaching so far out there and being like, I'm gonna get on top of my veggies at the Thanksgiving dinner. It's like, that might not be the place for that.
Today's the day. I'm starting
Today's
on Thanksgiving.
the day. All
Full
my
blown
veggies.
template, baby.
So set yourself up for success by thinking about how can I make the right choices more convenient? What can I put in front of me? Like, the veggies weren't convenient until Alex put out a spoon and the ranch sauce.
You have to
the
like
dipping.
lower the barrier of entry
That's it.
so far.
That's it. And it doesn't need to be perfect. The thing that you end up eventually choosing doesn't need to be perfect, but if it's convenient, you start to create those grooves for the habit to form.
Yeah, and I could probably even bring some context to that. Like, when I bring veggies to a party, it's because that is my minimum, because I know I'm going to eat freaking cheesecake. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that
Right.
I'm
You're not
only
bringing it
eating
'cause you're-
this.
yeah.
It's that I'm making sure I have this at least because I'm
That's
going to
smart.
indulge, Like, so it's not either or, it's both.
I think I just had something that I wanted to say, and then Alex's veggie thing threw me off completely.
Derailed by
My
Alex's
bad, bro.
veggies again.
Yeah, there's a lot of good
Freaking
tips.
veggies.
If you
Yeah,
guys are
what's-
interested in the workout that Julian was so joyful to do, it was the 2021 Vault Iris, where he is out frolicking in the snow.
Oh
Rachel.
yeah, it was and
Yeah.
Rachel.
It was me and Rachel.
Remember
I
Rachel
have
had
it
like
on
the
here.
face
You
shield.
Wow.
You're smiling so big. As
Didn't we have to redo it too?
Oh, I remembered what I was gonna say.
Did
It's
we
back.
have to redo it too? Huh? We had to redo it as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a behind the scenes thing though. Tell right now.
Oh no, it's okay. Time's
Edit
passed.
that
Okay,
out.
the truth comes out.
We'll cut that out.
There was something wrong with the initial filming. Anyways, what I was going to say is I think a lot of times where people are like, but I'm not going to see results in the next 6 weeks because I do plan on indulging. So what is the point? Maintaining consistency, even if you have a weight loss goal, I'm just going to use that because it's a common one. But if you have a weight loss goal and you know that with the amount that you want to indulge to have an enjoyable holiday season, that maybe you don't gain any weight, but you're like, but I'm not going to see results. So like, what's the point? So I feel like I either need to go rigid and not even participate in Thanksgiving, and I need to not participate in any of these holiday traditions so that I can see results, or I'm just not going to do it at all because I'm going to wait till January because I'm not. What's the point? The point is that you're going to be so far ahead when you do have a better situation. And again, that might be January 1st. It might be when tax season is over or whatever. By maintaining as much of it as possible and maintaining as many habits as possible, you're going to be so far ahead of where you would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
It's not always about results and like how much weight did I lose this week and how, or how much weight did I add to my back squat? Well, probably not a lot if you are doing push-ups and you're comfy in your house, but you're so much further along and in a better place than you would have been if you were just like, forget it, I'm gonna wait till everything is easier for me. So don't worry. Maybe one of the things that you stop doing during this time is measuring your results. Stop weighing yourself during this time. Stop worrying about all of that stuff until it's a better time for you to do that. But that doesn't mean that you stop putting in effort toward all the habits that will need to be in place when you're ready to go a little bit harder at everything.
It's funny you said in place because I often call those placeholders.
Yes.
Like when people, because I'm injured frequently, it seems, and I post about it so much, and people will email me and be like, hey, I'm injured, and I don't, this is so boring, and like I'm so frustrated, and it's like, it's literally just a placeholder. It doesn't need to be intensity. As long as you're carving out 10 to 15 minutes of your day and being intentional about that, when you are better, when you are recovered, when you are healed, you have that time already carved out. Now it's just a matter of ramping up intensity, adding in movements. Like, it's more about, like letting go of what results, focusing on what's going to happen, what you're setting yourself up for when things are better.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, me personally, people will be like, postpartum 3 times or whatever, they'll see the workouts that start to look impressive maybe 6 months postpartum, and they think that's what I did to look and perform the way that I do at 1 year postpartum. And it's like, no. The most important workouts were the ones that I did when I was 8 months pregnant. Like, those are the ones that are the main reason that I was able to do this. Or the stuff that I was still doing when I was injured is the reason that I was so fit, so close to my injury, not the stuff that looked impressive once I was actually better. And this is that. That's what real fitness is made in the winter is. It's like you want and again, it doesn't have to be about aesthetics, but it's like you want the summer bod. Well, that happens in November and December. The real work happens when it's not convenient, when it's harder, when the decisions are harder to make. Not, once springtime comes around, then it's a little bit, not too late, but it has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, give yourself that foundation. Give yourself the time, and just understand that no one is in like this nonstop, like perpetual state of just losing weight or getting infinitely stronger. Like,
except for Salvi.
Maybe Salvi. But that's not realistic. And I like the placeholder analogy. And it's a necessary step to get you to that next place. And what is that next place? Maybe it's just getting more confident with your ability to create healthier habits. Maybe it's not the weight on the barbell or how many workouts you've done, but it's just that having that mental confidence of being like, I'm empowering myself to make better choices, and I can do that over and over and over again.
Same thing as going outside. Just go outside.
Just go outside.
Yeah.
All right. We hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. If you want some like daily little tasks that you can follow along, super simple stuff. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, we do what's called the 30 days of fitness. If you're a street parking member, all of those they're just like little mini challenges for the day. And they're very simple, like drink an extra 20 ounces of water a day, something like that. There'll be a new one each day between Thanksgiving and Christmas. We are going to put some of them on the public pages as well. And I think there'll be like a little downloadable thing that you can get if you're a member also, and you can print it out and kind of like X off. That might be something, again, to stay plugged in, to stay aware of your habits and trying to do the best that you can. That'll start the day after Thanksgiving and go through Christmas, and we'd love to have you guys join us for that. All right. That's it. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.